things started. Hi, everyone. I am Jessica Guzman Mejia. I'm the Vice President for Program Strategy and Impact of the Hispanic Federation. And welcome to today's Community is Built Latinx Leadership event. It's great to see so many folks, right? Hopefully, again, cameras on, guys. It's great to see so many CREAR Futuros students in this virtual room joining us for this conversation around community leadership. And today, we are partnering with Ford Motor Company Fund, and we'll have the opportunity to hear from some of Ford's top leaders to learn a bit more about their personal and professional journeys. And our hope is that their stories and their experiences essentially will be prepare you and essentially, help you all, right? Essentially, kind of create these sort of get a better sense of your careers to eventually become the future leaders and advocates of the Latino community. That panel discussion will be followed with breakout rooms where students will have the opportunity to engage in more intimate conversations with Ford reps and fellow grad students. But before we get to the panel, I'd like to ask Frankie Miranda, president of the Hispanic Federation, to formally kick us off. Frankie?
Thank you, Jessica. Hello, everyone. I'm Frankie Miranda. I'm the president of the Hispanic Federation, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 CREAR Futuros Latino Leaders Day event. Hispanic Federation is grateful to be here with you and with one of our long-standing partners, Nuestra Familia, the Ford Motor Company Fund. Since 2011, the Ford Motor Company Fund has supported our hunger relief Lucha, Contra, Hambre fight against hunger initiative, which has provided over 1.5 million meals to vulnerable individuals across 5 states. Today's event is part 2 of 2 activations that we did this week. We started on Wednesday evening when we partnered with Telemundo 47, our longstanding partner, Spanish language media partner, and Ford Motor Company Fund to host a phone bank where viewers were able to talk to volunteers, and we were able to answer around 3,000 questions from callers, 3,000 callers looking for local community food pantries, nonprofit support, and government aid to help alleviate the devastating effects that they're going through because of the pandemic. Unfortunately, our Latinx community has suffered a disproportionate impact. Nuestra gente, our people, has suffered higher rates of infections, loss of jobs, and sadly, loss of loved ones. And at this point, we all know someone close to us that has suffered from COVID-19 in one way or another. The effects of this crisis are long-term, and we remain vulnerable as we prepare for the second wave of coronavirus. In fact, in a recent analysis done by the United Hospital Fund and Boston Consulting Group, it shows that 1 in every 1,000 children in New York State alone lost a parent or a caregiver to COVID-19. Those repercussions are even greater among communities of color, where 1 in 700 Hispanic children lost a parent or caregiver. The report also found that nearly 325,000 children have been thrust into poverty due to the economic impact of COVID-19. This is why we do our work. This is why we focus on hunger and food insecurity. These issues have been prevalent in our community before the pandemic and will only continue to grow. But we at the Hispanic Federation are ready to fight. And with the support of champions like our friends at Ford Motor Company Fund, we can continue to provide immediate resources to support our community. We're thankful to have Ford Motor Company Fund as a partner, not only for our economic empowerment work, but also our education work too. For the past 3 years, the Ford Motor Company Fund has supported CREAR Futuros, our signature nationwide college success program that mentors and motivates Latinx students to graduate from college and better prepare for their careers. And today, CREAR operates on 8 campuses, 5 in New York City, part of the New York City University New York colleges, John Jay, LaGuardia, New York City College of Technology, Queens College, and Lehman. CREAR is also in Naugatuck Valley Community College in Connecticut, Rhode Island College, and the University of Central Florida. And as part of today's CREAR Futuros Leaders Day, we will have the opportunity to hear from some of Ford's top leaders to learn a bit more about their personal journeys and professional as well. I think that these chats are so inspiring because these leaders were not very different from us not long ago. They had their dreams and struggles and they persevere. Así que take notes, ask questions, and be inspired. And speaking of inspiring people, I'd like to introduce a great friend, un gran amigo, Joe Avila, manager at Ford Motor Company Fund. Hola, Joe.
Hola, Frankie. Thank you for the generous comments. And I think I'm done because you talk about all our partnership since 2011. So I don't think I have anything else to say. So thank you. No. Good morning, everyone. So I hope that today, you not only find a really exciting day that you can remember for the rest of your lives, but that you also find the opportunity, not necessarily only to listen to the different people that are going to be talking and the panelists, but that you also think about what you learned today, how you can help others, especially that are probably in an earlier stage of their college career, academic career, as you move up in your accomplishments and your academic achievement. In terms of the Ford Fund, yes, I'm Joe Avila. I'm the manager at the Ford Motor Company Fund. For those of you that don't have idea what the Ford Motor Company Fund is, we are the philanthropic arm of Ford Motor Company. I know there is a Ford Foundation based in New York. We don't have anything to do with the Ford Foundation. We're actually the company corporate foundation. So we're the Ford Fund. And on behalf of all of us at the Ford Fund, we're really excited to be with you virtually today. As you know, these have been, and also Frankie was sharing, difficult times for everyone, especially with adapting to new school settings, from virtual classes to socially distant in-person learning environments. Despite the uncertainties of what the future may hold, it is most important to stay positive because together we can get through this. Today, we're not only highlighting the important role of the Latino community, we're also celebrating the impact of long-standing partnerships. As Frankie was mentioning, we have a long-standing partnership and we are proud, Ford is proud to continue collaborating with the Hispanic Federation this year, commemorates the 10th year since we have joined forces to activate the Lucha Contra Hambre initiative, the hunger relief efforts, to basically provide support to very much needed families that has been underserved in our Latino community. And last year, as part of Ford's continued commitment to fight against hunger, we were able to donate a Ford Transit van to support this relief effort. So during now and the remaining of the year, that van is going to continue providing delivering the meals and fulfilling that gap of mobility and transportation when it comes to basic needs, supplies, in this case, meals. Thank you again, Frankie and the Hispanic Federation staff for another great initiative launch. Special welcome to all the CREAR Futuros students. We're here because of you, because we believe in you. And these morning programs, as I was saying earlier, you're going to have the opportunity to learn different aspects and career path that you can take to achieve your dreams, attain leadership position, and reach your goals. But also, I insist, remember, that you also can serve as coach for those that couldn't attend today. I'm going to share, a little bit about my background. I'm Venezuelan American. I'm originally from Venezuela. I was born and raised in Maracaibo, a town in the west, northwest of Venezuela. I moved to the U.S. to study in the US. I have the opportunity after 3 different attempts that I was applying for a grant to the World Bank to come here without knowing English really well, as you can tell, and I'm still learning English. And sharing this is that because, you know, I never thought I could get to a position where I am today. I lead not only the Hispanic community outreach for Motor Company Fund in the US, but also Latin America, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Panama, and 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 you know, for a young kid that arrived to the US without learning, that having to have to learn English to get through, you know, college and be able to get a job and then grow my career, I can tell you that it's possible. You know, as long as, you know, you continue concentrating on what your goal is, and you might not know what your passion is or what you want to do when you grow up, and that's okay. You know, some of us know that earlier than others. The key thing is to be sure that you continue working towards your dream and you're able to connect the dream with few baby steps to not only academic achievement, but to fulfill those dreams. And I always like to share, you know, if you have passion, perseverance, and patience, you're going to be able to achieve anything you want. Of course, you have to be productive because you have to work hard. Everybody has to work hard. So remember those 4 P's: passion, perseverance, patience, and productivity. So with this, I would like to thank the 4 representative from the 4 Hispanic Network, which is our employee resource group at Ford Motor Company, for being here today. They're going to share their personal journeys and advice with you today. Thank you, Angela, Jennifer, and Ricardo for joining us. Now, down the road, Ford Fund is committed to help empower your community. Follow us at the4fund.org. Follow also Ford Dreams on Facebook and Instagram, and we wish you much success with the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Mil gracias, Joe, and thank you also for sharing a little bit more about you. You are an impressive guy and a good friend and a great human being. So thank you for joining us today. And then, you know, we are going to start our program. Enjoy the panel. We look forward to seeing more on social media. So make sure to use #4Fund. And with that, I toss it back to Jessica. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, Frankie. Gracias, Joe. Thank you for teaching us about the 4 Ps also. I like that. I jotted that down. So always great to have you here with us. I'd now like to introduce my colleague, Diana Cava. She is HF's Senior Director of Economic Empowerment. Diana is essentially, she is lead on all of the hunger relief operations that Frankie mentioned earlier. She and I will co-lead today's discussion with our Ford partner. So with that, Diana.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you so much, Ford, for your continued support throughout the years and for this new format, which is not as new as much anymore, right? We've been doing it for the past the past 3 years of kind of combining efforts with education and economic empowerment and working with the CREAR Futuros students on these joint efforts, you know, on talking about hunger relief in the community, talking about our Latino leaders, our career paths, but also giving community. So this is, to be honest, this is my favorite time of the year, because despite the fact that, you know, we're working on an issue that's already a tough issue for our community prior to the pandemic and is now such a pressing need now more than ever. But this is also time for us to come together to reflect on the year, to see how we come together and help. And I just want to shout out again all the volunteers that we had on this past Wednesday for that phone bank. As you can imagine, we host phone banks often, but the was tremendous, which really shows the need. So any help, all the help that has been provided has been greatly appreciated. And I'll talk about some more opportunities to help later in today's conversation, but I don't want to hold this back anymore from having this wonderful panel conversation. I do, however, I'm surprised the chat is kind of quiet. So I wanted to give you all an opportunity to represent you're coming from, what schools you're coming from, so the panelists can know. Because I mean, I can write down the name, I could say which schools, but I'm gonna need you guys to step it up a bit. We want to see some activity on that chat. So who we have here? Who do we have? Who's representing? Who do we have from City Tech? Huh? Okay, I see. I see you. I see you. John Jay, LaGuardia, Lehman, NVCC, Queens, RIC. Okay, all right. You guys are awake, you're listening. That was your test. But we want to show, how proud we are of all of our students, show who's here in the room, who's representing from all the throughout New York City, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Super happy to have you guys here. So I'm going to launch now into the discussion. I want to introduce today's panelists and share with you also their bios. So I would like to introduce.
Oh no, you scare me. What are you doing?
We have someone that unmuted themselves, excited to represent. I'm just gonna continue here. So we have Miss Angela Cascaden, Ricardo Arcos, and Jennifer Cortez. Thank you again for joining us today. Jessica and I will be asking a set of questions for you to answer. We would like to hear mostly about your personal and professional journey and how you work to overcome any challenges to achieve success. So everyone, again, to our wonderful audience of CREAR Futuros students, there will be a Q&A session where you have the opportunity to ask questions. For those of you on social media, tweeting, posting, sharing IG stories, please be sure to use the handles @FordFund, @Hispanic Fed, and on Instagram handles Ford Fund and Hispanic Federation. I'm going to put this in the chat as well with the hashtags. But first, let me introduce our wonderful panelists. So we have first Ms. Angela Cascaden, pardon me, who joined Ford Motor Company in 2005. Angela has spent more than half of her career at the company in Dallas, working on various assignments in the Ford Customer Service Division. Angela joined the marketing organization in 2014 as part of the Lincoln product marketing team, working on the Lincoln MKX, now Lincoln Nautilus, and moved to the Edge marketing manager role in December of 2015. Angela received a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, formerly known as the University of Texas Pan American, and an MBA in Marketing and Management from the Cox School of Business at Southern Methodist University. Ricardo Arcos is a new member of the Strategic Research Team since July 2020. Originally from Chicago, Illinois, he moved to Detroit in 2016 following completion of his mechanical engineering degree to work for Ford. Since starting at Ford, he has had the opportunity to work in several roles: air induction DNR, vehicle integration, engine calibration, UX implementation, activation. In his free time, he is the acting secretary for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, Detroit chapter, and is pursuing a master's degree in human-centered design and engineering. He enjoys traveling, being outdoors, and discovering new things. And Jennifer Cortez serves as community coordinator for Ford Fund, the global philanthropic arm of Ford Motor Company, to strengthen communities and help make lives better. She strengthens Ford's ties with the community by developing partnerships and expanding Ford branded programs that are unique to each market. Her team's national program, Ford Driving Dreams, has toured the United States and Latin America, equipping hundreds of thousands of students with leadership tools, access to educational resources, and millions of dollars in scholarships. Jennifer received her bachelor's degree from UT Arlington. She currently resides in her hometown, Dallas, Texas, where she continues to better her community by advocating for those most in need and opening pathways for generations succeeding. Thanks again for joining us today. Okay, let's kick this off, Jess.
All right, thanks, Diana. So to the panelists, CREAR Futuros, right? One of the core elements of the program is peer mentorship. Can you share or talk to us a little bit if you had mentors along your whether academic journey or career journey, and whether or not they were influential in essentially getting you to where you are today? And we could kick it off with Jennifer.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I would say my peer mentors and everyone that helped develop me and I could talk about later, but I have such a non-traditional way in my career that they are literally why I am where I am right now, because I had so many people from different levels and different walks of life that invested in me, and that I listened to, and that I kind of just, without wavering, just went and followed the path that they were leading me on. So I would definitely say that peer mentorship was part of the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and that I have the platforms that I have right now.
Sure, Ricardo, Angela?
Yeah, I could jump in. Definitely, peer mentorship has been a huge part of how I got to where I'm at today. I'm first generation here in America. My parents came and emigrated from Mexico. I come from a fairly large family. There's 7 of us total, but I'm the only one from the 7 of us that actually went to college and got a bachelor's and is pursuing a master's. So I didn't grow up with a lot of structure as far as, or information around how to go to college, how to sort of navigate through that world. But upon sort of going into, I started off in community college. Upon entering community college, I actually joined the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, met a lot of people who were just like me, first generation students, created that network of friends and community. And then as I migrated to a 4-year university and then started looking for a career, a lot of the friendships and people that I met in college, whether they were advisors or students who were just years older, they definitely helped navigate and are sort of my padrinos in how I started off my career here at Ford. So definitely owe a lot of a lot of gratitude to those people who invest in me. But likewise, when someone invests in you, you kind of feel like you have to invest in others. So that's kind of always paid forward. And I think peer mentorship really opens up pathways for you, for not only for you to grow, but to help others grow. So I think it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I am also a first generation, Mexican American. I was actually born in Mexico and moved here when I was 4. So it was kind of all that I knew. But as I went through all of my, whether it was even in high school, I mean, I still remember being in high school and talking to someone in high school about my interests at the time, and them kind of leading me to think about like even bigger than what I was thinking at the time. And that carried through in college, as I would talk to my professors and get involved a lot. I was very involved when I was in college with different organizations. I was on student newspaper, and I was, in the Advertising Federation. And I talked to all of my professors to help me to guide me through how to navigate the workforce. And I was extremely fortunate that I was able to get an internship with Ford when I was in school. And that also came up from a mentorship. It was because I was very engaged with the career team at my university. And it was one of those things where I walked into their office and they said, "Hey, Ford is looking for interns. You should consider applying." And that was kind of how I entered the workforce at Ford Motor Company. Probably not something I would have even thought for by myself if it wasn't for someone presenting that opportunity to me. And then I've been fortunate enough that has also carried through for me at Ford Motor Company. I mean, I'm going to be 16 years with the company at the end of this month. That's just amazing to me. I feel like I still remember when I was graduating 16 years ago from college, but it's been 16 years since I've been with Ford. And I've been really, really fortunate that a lot of those people that were my supervisors, and a lot of peers too, that listened to me and heard what I was interested in, and helped me get into the jobs that ultimately I have enjoyed, right? I mean, the marketing is really where I wanted to be, and that's where I am. And I can't thank those people enough.
It's great. Thank you, Angela, for those remarks. So both Angela and Ricardo, you guys mentioned, being Mexican born or Mexican descent. Talk a little bit more about your Latino identity, right? And essentially how that has helped achieve your goals. Obviously, we always talk about how we're proud being Latinos, or just, whatever culture, whatever background you are, right? Talk a little bit more about how, what can you tell first generation students of color to kind of help them navigate and get to their goals?
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like it's so important to be true to who you are and be your true self. In every sort of environment that I've ever been in, I've never tried to mask my identity or who I am. I am Mexican and my family's Mexican, and I take a lot of pride in that. I think there's a lot of good things that come with being that. Like one of the biggest things I love from our sort of Mexican or Hispanic culture is how laid back and sort of chill we are, especially when we're sort of just getting our work done. We're really hardworking, but we enjoy it. We enjoy ourselves. And that's something that I always try to bring into our work environment, whether it's we have a deadline that's coming up and there's a lot of pressure. It's always good to just have something to sort of just, hey, let's breathe, let's calm down. A big part of the way I connect with my coworkers is through food. I love eating, I love cooking. I love the Mexican food. So that's one of the ways that I sort of introduce others and bring my culture into the workforce. But other than that, I think it's important to, especially in these times now with the world sort of being a little bit divided, it's important to communicate what our cultural differences are and what our cultural commonalities are to sort of help bridge that divide. And like I said, I think it's important for you to bring that aspect of yourself, never try to hide it, and always be true to who you are and true to your background. If you just start hiding things, it just creates a cascade of barriers that you're going to put forth in front of yourself. But yeah.
Angela, Jennifer, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my parents kind of instilled like a work ethic in me, particularly my mom. I mean, both my parents, but my mom is just one of those people that you meet her and you would never believe her age because, I mean, she's not old by any means. She's 65 years old, but you meet her and she just goes 1,000 miles per hour. And that is her every single day every minute of every single day. And I think that has been one of the things that has really helped me to identify with how that culture is. I feel like from a cultural standpoint, I'm not saying that that's not the way in other cultures. I mean, my husband is not Hispanic and he has the same type of work ethic, but my mom just really always made me feel like, you have to work your hardest and you have to give it your all. And that's what I've always continued to do. And I think one of the things that I've always made sure that is very clear to anyone that is around me that I'm bilingual, that I can speak both languages. I'm fluent in both of them. And that's created some unique opportunities at Ford for me because not everyone is bilingual, right? So I've even been asked to be a part of other vehicle line things because I am bilingual. So I'm able to do that. So I think I bring that unique perspective and not just perspective, but that unique skill that not everyone has the ability to do. And I'm in Michigan. That's where I am today. So obviously in Michigan, you're not going to find as many Spanish speaking people as you would where I'm originally from, which is South Texas, which I would say probably 95% of the people are bilingual, or at least more of them speak Spanish. So I think that's been something that's been very, very important to me.
Yeah, and I would say too that it's for me, like I had this longing of Latinidad in a way because I just and of who I am, because I felt like I didn't fit in different pockets. And I think that happens to a lot of us. I think it's actually what made me who I was, because I didn't, even if I don't look like the traditional or act like the traditional Mexican American, Chicano, Latina, like whatever it is, it was that experience that really developed me to who I am, and it allowed me to be relatable in an environment where there might have, in a corporate environment, for example, where there might not be a lot of people that have the same story, have the same background. It allows me to create a space that's relatable, that touches the people that like us, that so that we can know that we're opening the door for more people, I guess, to come in and to build that growth and to create a structure around that for our communities to know that this is that corporate or wherever your dreams are, that is also a space for you. And I'm really, I was, as a child, it was harder for me. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a first generation. I am a third and fifth generation Mexican American. I was an activist when I was in college. I was an activist for the Dreamer movement. So that's also a very non-traditional way, but I identified so much, when we started that movement back then, when we were doing that whole other life I had, because Dreamers were just, for me, I couldn't find identity, but I held this huge level of privilege over them. But for them, they knew exactly the Puebla, the town, the state they were in from, and then they're stuck in this whirlwind here in the States of not being granted the opportunity to exist in the way that they wanted to. So it was like, for dreamers too. So what we identified so well with each other and use that, what you would think as adversity to actually strengthen us, to actually use that power to push us to move forward and to develop these paths and to make it known that you're welcome here. You're welcome in corporate, you're welcome in government, you're welcome in anywhere that you are, because we are, you know, all threads of this country and all threads of this world. So.
Thank you, Jennifer, Angela, and Ricardo. I hear a lot mentioned about, of course, you know, the communities that make us who we are, the communities that have helped mentor us and support us to get to where you are now, you know, to achieve your personal and professional successes. So my question is, what advice do you have on how to build, give back, and influence your community?
Yeah, I could
throw it out there. Yeah, whoever wants to go.
No, I'll jump on that one. Like I said, I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood in Chicago, low to medium income family. A lot of the people I grew up with didn't have opportunities or the understanding of how to sort of break through from that community and sort of seek out other opportunities. So as soon as I went to college, got a job, got a career started, the first thing I sought to do was, how can I sort of help inform or educate or bring up my community? So I went to a community college called Morgan College in town of Cicero outside of Chicago. And then I went to University of Illinois in Chicago, which is right in the downtown area. What I did is I came into Ford. I noticed that Ford has certain schools they recruit at and other schools they don't. I noticed that my school, which is a Hispanic serving institution, wasn't one of those schools they recruit at. Neither is a community college because it's a 2-year institution, but we offer other things through Ford funds or scholarships that could help those students rise up and transfer over to a 4-year institution. So within our recruiting team at Ford, it was great. The company sort of allowed me to sort of venture out and create these connections with my community. So now we actively recruit from my university. We actively go there and show our presence and communicate to those members of the community to say, hey, this is Ford. This is where we came from. We're from you. We're from here. And these are the opportunities that you could have or you have opportunity to access. I think it's so important. I think never forget where you came from and always try to remember how to give back. Someone helped you out, so help others out. Like I can't emphasize enough how important it is to pay it forward and to really reach back and give others the same opportunities that you sort of either developed or found on your own or were provided. But yeah.
Yeah, and I would go back to what I was saying, or we were talking about peer mentorship and having, you know, people who believe in you and kind of just following that almost blindly, because that's, I mean, like I said, I was an activist, and then I got my skills got sharpened when I became part of the New America Alliance, who then I was going annually to the Waldorf Astoria with these, you know, very Latinos who have had a very successful lives, and listening to them and then at the same time doing campaign work, at the same time doing work in my community for free, just because I believe so much in that. Just so taking that opportunities and not necessarily like allowing that to grow me, allowing that to open that pathway. Because I mean, that's how I ended up at Ford. It was because I was so entrenched in doing some education movement stuff, and Ford Driving Dreams was one of one of my best friends was the main speaker for that, and he was helping develop that program, and I was always in the background of it, and I happened to be there, and Joe saw me. This was 5 years ago, but Joe, Joe saw me, was like, wow, you're working on all this other stuff that you're doing in New York, and at the same time you're here just helping us with the students just because you want to, because that was where my passion was at. And so I fueled that passion by just doing it. And then that opened those doors for me. And I also, and I mean, that's on one side, that's what made me who I am. But if I could give you more advice into that, even a greater piece of advice would be to invest in yourself. And I feel like looking back, I wanted to do everything, but I wish I would have invested a little bit more, because we can't pour into our communities from an empty cup. We cannot give our communities anything that we haven't given ourselves. If we want to give our communities love or a platform, we have to give ourselves that first. So then we're able to then give that to our community. And in college, I was all over the place, and because I was doing so many things, I never stopped to take a pause and to really be present in where I am, to understand like all of these pieces, all of the Latinidad, all these pieces make me who I am and make me the perfect candidate for the next step in my career. And I think if I could say anything, like that would be the advice I would give to you, that whatever it is that you're going through, for me, it took me 6 years to graduate college because I was so busy saying, let's go lobby in DC, let's get a bus, let's do all these things that I did in my past life, that I didn't go to class, and I didn't. So then I got to a moment where I was just like, well, why would I? But then I just said, I have to finish, and I have to really do this for myself, because I'm not going to be able to get to the next step until I check that box. And that's one of the main boxes, graduating from college. And then from there, regardless of how you got there, regardless of how you graduate, you'll have that box checked, and you'll be able to walk into the door into rooms that you never thought you would be in.
So I think that Ricardo and Jennifer probably said most of everything that I would, build off of. So I guess I'll build off of it. My biggest advice in how to help your community is like find something that you're really passionate about. For me, my passion comes from development with people development. I just really enjoy that. I think that it's important to help the people that don't understand how things work, whether it be, at the company that I work with or outside of the company, people that I was doing my MBA with or whatever. And I've always taken that role both as a mentor and a mentee very personally. I feel like I get so much out of mentoring people and hoping that I help them move through whatever the course is, helping them with whatever that is. And I'm doing that with my own family, next generation. My nieces come to me when they have questions about how they should consider things in their future. And to me, even giving that to your own family is so important, because you're setting up those future leaders, even within such a small network. Not to say that expanding your network is also extremely important, but even if you start small, something like that, you have no idea how much impact you're going to have on someone that is like sitting right next to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And speaking of advice, and I'll start with you, Angela, so that way everyone can say, oh, she already covered what I said. No, just kidding. But I'll start with you, because you already started with your advice on giving back to the community. If you had the opportunity to give advice to your college self, what would it be? And this is for everyone, but starting with Angela.
So I actually took the opposite approach. I graduated from college in 3.5 years. And if I could tell myself something, is slow down. You don't need to go that fast. There is no reason for you to do this in like warp speed. There's a lot that you can either learn or, maybe even have a second internship, or, and not to say, I've been here for 16 years. So obviously I feel like I'm very fortunate in the path that I ended up taking. But I do wonder why I thought it was so important to graduate in such a short period of time. I don't know why I did that. So I would tell myself to slow down.
Cool. Yeah, I guess for me, the advice I would give myself is I was the complete opposite. I felt like I needed to finish quick, but I just was always very like, what am I going to do? Is this the correct major? I was always very doubtful of whether I was on the correct path. And I think growing up now and being where I'm at, I think don't worry about having those concerns about whether you're on the correct path. Give yourself the time to learn and explore paths. Don't work on anyone's timeline. You're on your own timeline. You're going to figure it out eventually. Everything's going to work out. But give yourself the opportunity to actually explore, learn, grow. I think before I was just too adamant on trying to figure it out that I didn't take the time to reflect and enjoy part of the journey. And I think that's really what you should be doing. Hopefully taking time to walking away, learning something new. And then if you choose to pivot and walk a different path, then at least you walk away knowing that you understand something and you've grown from it. That's probably what I would tell myself.
Yeah, and similar to Ricardo, I was that's another reason I kept changing stuff and because I have to do it this exact way. I have to have this exact grade, and otherwise I had to start over and just do another major. And I kept doing that over and over again because I just felt like I couldn't find myself in this, or I would be put in rooms and where I didn't feel like I belonged, and no one looked like me. And if I could go back, I would just tell myself everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Everything, you can't connect the dots during, you can only connect the dots after, and you can realize, oh, well, that is what did this and this, and our failures are what make us and grow us more than our successes do. So I would tell myself, it's okay. It's okay that you it'll just do it. Just go and just get the degree. Because I ended up getting 3 degrees. So I got one in political science, history, and philosophy, none of which really has anything to do with what I do now. Really, it was the experiences that I did and everything outside of school, and that developed me. And school was that process I had to go to make sure that, hey, you can go through something and you can complete it. And I think I would go back and I would tell myself that, it was, back then I was planning on going to law school. I'm not saying, I'm only 30. I feel like I could still have that on the, on the back burner. But it was, I was so I have to have this exact path in order. If I don't do it, I need to go back and start over. But there are no do-overs, and that's okay. The beauty of that, there's beauty in the fact that there are no do-overs. It's not stressful. It's not, we can't beat ourselves up for that because everything that we're doing is developing us for who we are today and creating the exact person we need to be to walk into the door in our future, so that's what I would tell myself. And I would tell you too, don't sweat the small stuff, just get it done. Just, get the degree, and then you can go a completely different career path, a completely different direction. And then you can go another one again after that. And it'll be fine. It'll be exactly where you're supposed to be and exactly what you're supposed to do. And you will be impacting and encouraging so many other people that look like you to know that it's going to be okay, that it's going to be all right, and that we're going to figure it out, and that they can be just like you, just like the 3 of us are right now, and that, count Vienna and all of us too, Joe, and you'll figure it out. You'll go through your own path, and it won't be like anyone else's, and that'll be perfect because it had to be your path so you could be who you are.
Thank you for that. I think a lot of this information and sort of personal experiences are resonating with a lot of the students. And with that, I would love to give them the floor, right? Give the students the floor and have the opportunity to pose some questions directly to you 3, either via chat, or if folks want to unmute themselves and pose the question, by all means, please feel free to do so.
Jessica, we did have some questions already in the chat.
Oh, absolutely. Diana, if you want to kick us off. Sure,
yes,
that sounds great.
We have a question directly for Ricardo, but of course, please, everyone chime in if you'd like. Could you talk to us about human-centered design and how that is intertwined with identity and or community?
Yeah, for sure. So for human-centered design, one of the key aspects, it's built right into the name, right? It's human-centered. You have to understand who's the human that you're building to and trying to design for, and whose needs you're trying to meet. All humans are very different, very diverse, very multicultural. And I think it's important to always have that mindset. And coming from a diverse background, I try to bring as much of that into my work as possible. So when I start thinking of who I'm designing for or what work I'm trying to get done, I always try to think of who's the human is, what community do they live in, what needs do they have, and how can I best sort of understand them in order to meet the needs that they have. There's a great intersection between what you build, what you create, and who you're building and creating it for, and having that understanding of both those worlds. So I think you can't end up, or you can't develop something without truly understanding at the core who you're building for and having that understanding. But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I think they're very heavily intertwined. I think they go hand in hand.
That question was asked by our wonderful New England regional director, Ingrid. So Ingrid, if you wanted to add to that.
So yes, because a little bit about me, Ricardo, I just started my own path through IDEO, studying human-centered design in the work that I do at HF for, in community. And it was interesting to hear Diana say that in your bio. And so I find so many correlations between the work we do in CREAR Futuros, the mentorship, who we are, who our students are, and the diversity in the campuses, and the majors, right? And so I know you, in your bio, it said engineering, but I was like, could you talk a little bit about human-centered design and define what that is? Because it's a pretty neat thing. And you're actually maybe the only second other person that I've heard that actually has a master's degree in that. So thank you.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you. So another question, how did you know what you wanted to study? And this could, anyone could answer this one.
I actually thought that I wanted to do one thing. I think I mentioned this early on in the conversation. And as I was talking to one of my, it was a coach, it wasn't even my coach, it was just a coach at the school. They said to me, you know, have you ever considered doing something in marketing? Because you have that personality. And it had never even like crossed my mind. I hadn't ever thought about that. I thought I had my path and I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And then when I started school, I actually started in marketing and I shifted to communications, which is just a similar, it's different but similar. And then as I got my degree and I was already in the workforce, I realized that I could get some more for marketing. So that's why I decided to go back and do an MBA. So that's how I kind of came to be. So, you know, I think it was Jessica, or Jennifer, I'm sorry, that mentioned this before, where she said like, you're not gonna always know right away. I think that's something really important. Like, I think it's okay to start somewhere and then realize that that's not where you're supposed to be and then shift to something else. I think that that's part of someone's growth. And I think that it's important to give yourself the time and the space to do that.
Yeah, building on that, I come from, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Sometimes I still don't know what I want to do. But no, when I first started community college, I was like, what am I good at? And I knew I was good at math. I knew I was good at science. I knew I was good at chemistry. And I was like, where does that take me? So then I ventured into that little domain. And then from doing that thing and exploring that world, I was like, okay, within this, what do I want to do now? And then I thought, like, oh, I want to do research. So I went into research, tried it out, figured out it wasn't for me. And then ultimately I went into neuroscience, then I went into mechanical engineering. And then now I'm in like human-centered design. So my path has been sort of topsy-turvy all over the place. And I think it's because I never sort of fixate on one thing that I really want to do. I kind of give myself that opportunity to, again, try to explore, learn, and grow and pivot as needed. But yeah, I think that's just part of the journey. What you do have to have in mind, though, is what's the end goal? Where do you want to go and where do you want to be? And that's something that I always did have. I always knew that, hey, I really want to set these sort of goals and limits for myself. And I never sort of defined the path to get there, but I gave myself the opportunity to branch out, knowing that like, hey, is this getting me closer to where I want to end up? And if it is, then great. And if not, then all right, I got to pivot a little bit. But I think it's important to set a goal for yourself and just know that it doesn't have to be like a fixed goal. It could change, but always work towards getting to that.
Oh, thank you so much. We've been speaking a lot about, you know, successes and goals and following goals, but I have a great set of questions here. May you speak about a moment you failed? What did you learn from your failures?
Oh man, I fail so much. Let's see, where do I fail all the time? So when I first went to college, one of the things that I thought I really wanted to do was art. I thought like, oh man, I think I'm super creative. I think I could be a true artistic talent. I gave it a shot. I realized like, hey, I'm creative. I do have some talent, but it's not for me. It's not fulfilling me as far as where I want to be in my sort of intellectual mindset of pursuing math and numbers. So that was one of the things. I gave it the try. I failed, but then I learned from that experience in order to move on. Other places that I failed, in every day I work, whenever I hold a meeting or whenever I lead a workshop, I'm talking to people and it's navigating new grounds. And a lot of the suggestions or thoughts or things that we arrive at aren't always the things that we pursue, but we're using it a lot as you'll hear this idea of failing quickly. And that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fail as fast as I can so that I can learn as fast as I can in order to like develop a path forward. So whenever someone asks like, where do you fail? I try to say, hopefully I fail every day, because if I'm failing at least at one thing, that means I'm exploring and trying something new and figuring something else out. So yeah.
And we have a bunch of other questions. I can go ahead and ask another one, and then Jennifer, Angela, if you would like to take this next question. During difficult times, what drives you to do more?
Okay, so I guess I'll take it. For me, it's changed over time, and I feel like that motivation will always change. Just like we don't know which path, or sometimes like we will change as people. That motivation will change. But for me, I think it was when I was younger, when I was in college, like everyone here, it was the need I would see in the community, because I mean that was the pathway that I took. Right, it was community work, it was community becoming a community advocate. So, and I would be so, like, oh, I can't do this, I can't, and have all this self doubt on myself. But then I would see somebody else that would do it, or it would be actually, I think that another a huger, as I'm talking, I'm thinking of a even bigger motivator than that, was the fact to say that I didn't belong here. When I walked into the room, and even if it was all Latinos, I was the dark, and I don't even have that dark of a skin tone, but I was the darkest skin tone, or I had like what you would call nappy hair, because I can't, it's gross like that, right? And because I was the only one in there that looked like it motivated me to be like, well, I need to work harder. I need to work. And that was on boards I served at school. That was when I did the internship at New American Latino. I was able to be connected with phenomenal people like Andy Unawe, who was the son of the Bob of the Goya thing. And it's like they took me into these rooms where it's like fancy tables, and I didn't look like I belonged. And I think what motivated me to keep doing that, or when I hit prejudice or all these obstacles I hit, would be the fact that just tell me I can't do it, tell me I don't belong, because then I'm going to show you how much I belong here. And I'm going to open the door so more people that look like me are in here. So I think that actually continues to be my core motivator of everything that I do when I hit an obstacle.
Absolutely, that's perfect. That's great. We have well, you guys, students, these questions are amazing. The chat is on fire, we've been saying. It's so hard to choose what to ask. I've kind of been going in order, but now I'm going to jump around a little bit. And I know that you've touched a little bit on right now, Jennifer, but anyone who could feel free to answer this one. But have you ever faced bias? If so, how do you respond to it?
I've been very fortunate that in my entire probably life, and I'll specifically talk about my work life, there's only been one time that I can recall ever facing any version of bias. It was on a phone call, and Cascadden is actually my married name. My maiden last name is Canales, and someone just made a comment about that to me over the phone when I was it was a work call, and I didn't know what to do with it. I mean, to be honest, you don't really know how to react to it. So I kind of just ignored it and moved on and pretended like it never happened. And I know that may not be the best thing to do, but in my mind, the other person was being ignorant, not me. So I didn't let it affect me. So that was just how I handled it.
Yep, I think a lot of what we see is very unconscious bias, right? It's not explicit, but it's unconscious bias. And I think the way it surfaces, it could be as simple as through emails where someone, like in Angela's case, like someone misspeaks or misspells your name. So for me, it happens frequently when people call me Richard instead of Ricardo. And that's something that like I try to hold or defend, because my mom definitely didn't call me Richard. My mom calls me Ricardo, and she still does to this day. So I try to, I guess, communicate and establish like, hey, just that's who I am. This is what I do. And across my work, some people might think that because I'm from Hispanic background, because my origin isn't, I guess, Caucasian here, I might not have the same sort of abilities as others, and that's just not true. Like that's never true. And I feel for like our Latin women, because I feel like they suffer from it a lot more, especially in the workforce, where women have sort of battled two different sort of biases. One of hey, women just aren't good at this or that or that. And I think it's so important for us as like Hispanic men and the Hispanic community to sort of break those walls and break those barriers and say like, no, we're all just as good. And I saw a chat in the question in the chat that says like, how do you sort of break through this, what was it called? Like imposter syndrome. I feel like you're always going to have that imposter syndrome wherever you go, and you just got to think back at all your successes. For me, I just started this new role in strategic research. I have no true research background. I'm an engineer. I have to talk to customers. I have to think a little bit more dynamically and agile. And for anyone who's studying engineering or is in any sort of field like chemistry, you work with numbers, you work with really rigid sort of algorithms and formulas. And now you kind of have to break away from that. I think you always got to think back to what were those successes, even if they're little, and push that forward, and that'll get you through that imposter syndrome. Just because you're trying something out, and sort of feeling like you don't belong, it's just a new environment. Ultimately, you're gonna figure it out. Ultimately, you're gonna like get through it. But you got to give yourself that opportunity to push through. Don't just give it a try and like break. You really gotta like push yourself through it.
Thank you for that. We have time for a minute or two or more questions. So I did want to ask this one, since it's so relevant right now, we're all here meeting via Zoom, do you have any advice on how to build relationships during the pandemic when we can only meet with people virtually?
So, it's funny because I feel like during the pandemic meeting, I've been able to make more connections than I have in person in some regards, and so I think it's a difficult world to navigate. And you're now getting people who are on screen with you, but also doing other things. But if you can still have a Zoom, have a meeting where we see each other face to face, and know that because they can do it from their home or from wherever they are, because we can't meet in person, people's availability has opened up in a way that most people, or most, that you wouldn't think that they would be available because they're so busy or because they have this high regard, but they're available now. So, I mean, there's a lot of networking stuff, a lot of things that have gone all via Zoom, all via these different platforms, and take advantage of that. Take advantage of it and utilize it, and show up and say, hey, can we have a personal Zoom meeting on the side? Can I connect with you? Can I have a FaceTime with you? And utilize that, because I definitely think that while there's difficult things in the pandemic, that the availability of schedules and people you thought or people you aspire to be that you never thought would be open or available to talk to you, that their schedules have opened up because they can just talk to you from their home now.
So I have one more question I would love for all of the panelists to answer. If you could start all over again, what would you do differently? Classic.
I think the only thing I would do differently, I kind of alluded to in a previous answer, and it was, again, just slow down, give myself a little bit of time to explore from a school perspective a little bit more before jumping in the real world, because you think you want to get there, and then once you're there, you're like, holy moly, this is a lot more than I ever thought it was going to be. You are independent, you are paying your own bills, you are doing all these things that you think sound like freedom until you have to do them yourself, and then you realize how good you had it before then. So that would be what I would do different. But other than that, I feel extremely fortunate with where my life has led me, so I'm not sure that I would do anything else.
Yeah, I think for me, the only thing that I would really sort of change is building more of a network earlier on. I had a lot of great mentorship growing up through community college and college, but I would say it was all around academics and very little into the world of the professional world. So I would definitely try to build more networks and connections with people from different industries, with students or classmates from different sort of majors and fields. That way I could really broaden my perspective on what's out there and what potential avenues do I have if I ever want to branch out and go a different path. So I think for me, it's just really creating a large network of not just mentors, but a community. so you could get that broad perspective of how the world's kind of working.
Yeah, and I would well, like I said before, everything I've done in my path, everything we've all done in our path has made us who we are. So I don't think there's anything I would necessarily change aside from a mindset. I think I would, if I could go back, I would say to stop and breathe for a second, because I was incredibly blessed to have doors open for me to connect with very exceptional individuals and networks and all these things. But because I was always like this, and this, I need to finish this, I need to do this, I never stopped to breathe and allow myself to experience that moment and to be present in that moment. And I think if I could go back, I would do that, because I think I would owe that to myself, and I'd owe that to the people that are allowing that space to have me come in and that are believing in me, to want to pour into me. I think I would just I would talk to them and not think about what am I going to do in the future? How are you going to connect me to that? I would just be present in the moment, and then I would give more. I would have invested in myself earlier on, to just let myself breathe, let myself take in everything that is going on, good or bad, and just experience it, and know that it'll be okay, that everything is going to work out, because it will. It always will.
Well, thank you all for sharing your unique experiences and perspectives. I mean, I feel like a lot of the things that you said resonated with me as an adult. So thank you for that. I do want to. I wish we had more time to really kind of dive a little deeper into all the questions, but we have limited time, unfortunately, and we have to move on to the next portion of the program, which is going to be essentially, we know, just as exciting and just as fun. So with that, I'm going to invite my colleague Perla Rodriguez to quote unquote come on stage and talk us through the next activity. Perla?
Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome, everybody. This is very exciting. We have over 70 CREAR students here. That is amazing. And I love seeing all your faces. So thank you for having cameras on. So very quickly, we're all going to go into a breakout room. And in this breakout room, in your groups, you're going to get a theme, like a topic that connects to what we're talking about today, what all the panelists are sharing, your amazing questions. And in that session, you're going to talk about that topic. While you're talking about that topic, you're going to have a Hispanic Federation facilitator, and we're also going to have one of the panelists also joining you guys. We're going to be taking notes. The Hispanic Federation facilitator is going to be taking notes of all your amazing thoughts around this topic. And we're going to do that for about 8 minutes. After you're done taking notes, I'm going to compile all the phrases and the amazing words that you guys shared around the specific topic that your group got. And we're going to go on to an online word cloud generator, and we're going to put all the words together into a word cluster. And it's going to create like this really cute thing that we could share. And then we're going to come back. We could play with the colors, we could play with the scheme. You guys are going to create a hashtag around that particular theme and around your word cloud, and then you're going to come back and share how that went. So it's going to be a quick activity. We're thinking about 20 minutes for you guys to wrap this thing up and to come back and to share your amazing thoughts. All right, so if there's any questions, you're going to have a facilitator in every room to walk you through the activity one more time. Okay, guys?
Hi, I don't know if you guys received an invitation to join one of the breakout rooms. Feel free to click on that invitation.
Hello, what happened? It just cut us off.
Yeah, it
We had to
really
close it cut you guys off. Well, hopefully you guys could include whatever you guys were talking about in the breakouts, in the reporting out session. So sorry to cut you off. That's what happens when we close the breakout room. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. I don't know which group wants to kick us off with the report out piece. Any volunteers?
I'll go first.
Not the last group, because I'm still putting my words into.
You're still putting the words together? Well, Caesar raised his hand.
Okay, perfect. You go,
So
Caesar. You
Caesar,
were in my group.
who was in your group, Caesar?
Well, I know definitely Perla was there.
That's my group. So I'll share my screen.
Perfect.
I'll share my screen and show our word cloud, and then Caesar could talk a little bit about it.
Awesome.
You guys see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
for it,
so
Caesar.
yeah, I guess just generally what we were talking about was career readiness. And this is our word cloud. As you can see, it's like a little tree. And it's all based off of like career, job, interviews, graduate. And most of the things that we spoke about kind of surrounded these topics. So if you look at like the edges, it's just like experience, major, like internships. You could see like develop, departments, resumes, basically all things that really pertain to just the whole job market and just career readiness overall. And we were speaking about like the different programs that our schools have to like build up a resume, maybe look for internships. We even spoke a little bit about like bias within like the workplace, which I feel like is very important to address as well. And just spoke a little bit about like our each of our individual experiences. And yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Caesar, for being the brave soul to to be the
Go
first one
first.
to report out. Does anyone want to follow his lead? Anyone else from the other groups want to report out?
I guess I could go. I don't want to get it wrong.
Who's this? Is this Nicole?
Yes, Jennifer was in our group. She was our group leader. We were talking about like, I guess the community. If I'm not saying it right.
It was leadership and communities of color, and I'm opening up the word cloud right now. So
Awesome.
you
So
started off, Nicole. Thank you.
We were talking about leadership and what we feel like leadership looks like in our communities. And we were saying things like realness, encouragement. There was a lot of them. It was charisma, characteristics and things of that nature. And it was really good because you got to learn everybody's point of view about how they felt.
thanks for that, Nicole. And I know Diana's pulling it up right now. Oh, I love it. Look at these fall colors.
I took some liberties. We didn't get to even pick colors, so I picked a heart. I hope you guys don't mind. I thought the heart looked cute, but yes, Nicole, thank you so much for going over a lot of those words. If anyone else from the group wanted to add to what Nicole just shared.
I was also in the group, and I like, because I like the conversation because it's something that we're seeing today. The growth of leadership and communities of colors. I touched a little bit of about how we are represented within the community, but in the leadership, there's still a lot of work for the representation of ourselves. And we were also talking about how in today's society, we can see that the conversation is actually starting. We're making noise in order to be heard, and touched upon like characteristics of a leader and how the charisma overcomes talent when it comes to a leader, because people may value what you may offer, but when they come to see your characters and how you portray yourself to others, they might be like, that's not a leader I want to follow. Yes, what they offer is good, but what they show, their humility, they forgetting where they come from, who they were before, just not what I go by. So that was just a little bit on what we were talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ara. And anyone else from the final group? I know Ricardo and Fatima, right?
Yes, that's correct. Let me share our image, and Andrea will be talking about why we picked up these words. Just give me a second.
Hello.
Can you see this?
Yeah. So our overall topic, we was really talking about first generation students. A lot of the students in our group were first generation, and we were able to share a lot of experiences. So we went over the 4 P's specifically that we heard earlier in the call. So productivity, perseverance, passion, patience, and we really dwell off of that. So a lot of first generation students, we need all of those 4 P's, and we need to use those as having that mentality to lead others. We learned it on our own. It was hard, and we got through it, and now we're able to help others. And in our group, we were really able to talk about like how the mental health matters and the issues that do come with being a first generation student, although we didn't focus like it was like a bittersweet type of moment too, because we were able to, talk about the pros and cons, but mostly the pros, because everything that we did learn through it, we were able to educate others and lead with an example. And it was like a blessing in disguise. No matter what we did go through it, we went through it with our families help, whether they were able to directly help us or not with these forms. And just overall, like being able to motivate each other and others, because we don't want to quit. It will take time, but overall we still want to bring out that message, like it's not impossible, and we have the passion to do it, we have the patience to do it, and no matter what, it's always great to have the education that we do have.
Thank you for that. Anyone else from Fatima, Ricardo, and Andrea's group that wants to add to that?
Yes, hello.
Yep, Shanika?
Yes, we also talk about, as first generation students, the struggles that we go through as far as paying for college and trying to, pay for anything and get scholarships and then of that nature.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you all for reporting out and for sharing these word generators, word clouds. Very beautiful. We're going to definitely share these on social media once we post, so look out for those posts. If you guys want to reshare, retweet us, or check us out on Instagram, please be sure to spread the love and make sure that folks are aware of all these amazing opportunities that the Hispanic Federation is offering through CREAR Futuros, as well as through our partnership with Ford Fund. Does anyone want to kick us off or close us out? I know that we want to take our final group photo. So Fatima, I know that you're pretty good at that. Do you want to walk us through that experience? We should be camera ready, right? So go for it, Fatima.
Of course. All I need you to do, there's so many of us, it will not fit on just one picture. So I'm going to take 2. I just need you all to turn on your cameras and smile when I tell you. I'm going to wait to see. hair. Yeah, everybody start to get ready now. I'm gonna give you 10 more seconds, and then I will take the first screenshot and then another one for the second page.
Can y'all see me or no?
Yes.
Yeah, we see you.
All right. I'm gonna take the picture in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna take the second one in 5,
It's time for
4,
lunch. Remember to wash
3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, we're all set.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fatima, for leading us in that group photo. I didn't know if I was on page 1 or page 2, so I was just smiling the whole time. So I hope that was the case for everyone else. With that, I just really want to thank everyone again for joining us, for participating in this panel discussion, these breakout activities. We hope that this is, one of many virtual events that the Hispanic Federation can continue to bring to you guys. I know, normally we're meeting in person. We're usually, doing these sort of hands-on activities, hands-on work. But to be able to convene you guys, at least, in this virtual space where we're safe, right? Hopefully, right? We continue to be safe and healthy. Moving forward, again, we just want to thank you guys for taking the time out. So with that, if you need anything, you know how to reach us. But with that, have a wonderful weekend and have a wonderful happy Thanksgiving holiday. And
Just
Diana
wanna add-
Cava has one
Just
announcement.
have one thing, but we'll send you an email.
Yeah,
we still have calls. Remember those many calls that we had on Wednesday? We need help with following up with those calls. So we'll coordinate. You'll hear from Perla. We'll send an email to anyone who has time for next week and the week after that can help us out with that. That would be amazing. But yeah, as Jessica said, please have a healthy and safe holiday. Get some rest so we can finish out this year strong.
Thanks again.
Coming,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
You
Bye.
guys.
Bye.